Welcome everybody. I love this next guest of ours, David Slama. David and I have worked on a project together, and I got a chance to really hang out with him. We intersected on a few more projects, but didn't get a chance to do any scenes together. So I'm looking forward to the time when we do. Please welcome David James Slama.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Thank you, Alan, for having me here today.
It's my pleasure. It's long overdue. You should have been on here a long time ago, and I'm so happy that you kind of reminded me a week ago, saying, "Dude, when am I coming on?" And I really am happy to have you on because, again, the Chicago community and Chicago, Wisconsin, Illinois, Wisconsin community is a small one and it's a tight one, and honestly, I haven't met anyone, at least so far, fingers crossed, that I did not enjoy working with, or I did not think was a great human being. So I'm really happy that you're.
Yeah, and you talk about community of actors. It is amazing how, because it's fairly tight knit, and we're not an LA or a New York community that, or Atlanta. I guess we should add them in now. That we definitely do try to look out for each other, and the number of times that I have been sent a lead on something, or I've tried to send out leads to people. We definitely try to look out for each other here.
Absolutely. Look, it's a cliche, but we're really all in this together. If it's There are two ways of looking at it. People can look at it as competition of somebody's getting my part, or people can look at it as, hey, I'm going to do what I can to help everybody else out because it's just the right thing to do. And eventually it all works out where somebody is on another project and they're going to remember and call you. That's how it is. And I've gotten projects that way. I've given leads to friends of mine. My friends have brought me onto projects. That's the way it's supposed to work. I think we all rise together. And actually, if we kind of look at some of the biggest actors out there in LA, in New York, and we look at some of their work. Adam Sandler is a good example. He works with his buddies. They get together, they make a movie. It's essentially the same group of people, and lots of people do it that way. Quentin Tarantino. He's another one. So
Can't forget the Kevin Smiths of the world.
yeah, Kevin
Also,
Smith.
yeah, uses the same characters all the time. So
Yeah. So it's the community that grows together. Kind of, they end up doing things together. And you and I, the first time that we intersected was at one of my favorite young directors, Jack Krupp. Jack, if you're watching, love you, buddy. And we worked on the same project. What I don't know if you know is that I actually had your role before before you had the role. Did you know
did
that?
you really?
Yeah. So Jack, this was again an indie, and I got an audition from Jack and his partner at that time for the role of a homeless man. And the audition was a really cool one because I didn't know what to expect. And they're like, well, we think that you have the range. We looked at your reel. We think you can play it. And I said, I'd love to audition. And they got me up on FaceTime, and they basically said, you look the way you look, and we don't really buy you as a homeless person. You have 1 minute for us to buy you as a homeless person, and you have 1 minute for us to give you $1 that you're asking for. And on the spot, which is I love that. And Jack kind of does all these things, to actors, and I had no time to think. The only thing I had time for is basically try to very quickly identify of what would make me homeless because I look like me. There's only so many, we can put makeup on and that's going to look different. But if we're just talking like this, it's hard for somebody to believe that I am. So I snapped into, I made a bad financial investment. I lost my wife, I lost my children, I lost my house, and I'm out in the streets. And I don't know how this happened, but I just need some help. And during the audition itself, I almost started crying. I got so emotional during it. They're like, dude, we buy, you're hired. And I got that role. So I we're supposed to shoot it. This was 2 or 3 months before we ended up actually shooting it. We're supposed to shoot it. It's an overnight shot in Chicago. So I'm in Vernon Hills. So I put my wife and kids to bed at 11. I schlepped my butt to downtown, almost downtown. I park my car. I get in there, and I see some people by the restaurant.
Right.
Jack walks up to me. I'm ready to go. Jack walks up to me, says, "I don't know how to tell you this, but my whole film crew walked out." Uh,
See, I didn't know
and
that story.
yeah, he's like the whole film crew walked out. They don't want to work these hours. They don't want to do overnights. We can shoot. And he's like, I'm happy to pay you for cab or whatever. I'm like, dude, it happens. Don't worry about it. Call me when you're ready. I got back in my car and I got home. And then a month and a half later, Jack follows up with me and says, okay, so we're going to be doing some stuff, but I have a question for you. I'm rewriting the story a bit. Do you want to play? Do you want to play Nico, who's the owner of the restaurant? Because it was supposed to be a woman. The woman dropped out in the schedule. So he said, "Do you want to be Nico?" I said, "Absolutely." And then that's how I became Nico, and a role opened up for a homeless man, which thankfully you got because you were awesome.
Yes, and I got to live in all of my scruff, and I don't know whatever happened to the fur hat that I had,
It
but
was
that fur hat just made the whole character. It
um, it was a cool experience, and kind of again because I had a chance to embody that role a bit. As I was Nico and as I was kind of seeing what you were doing, and we had some of the same coverage, so I couldn't pay too close attention. But when I had a break and watching you do it, I'm like, that's a great way of doing it. I'm glad they hired him because I would have done things differently, and maybe it would have worked, maybe not. But I like what you were doing, and it was really, really interesting to see.
Well, and and you're saying that, and I really appreciate that too. Thank you. Um, there's so many times, and I'm sure you've done this too, where you've gone and you've auditioned for a role,
Yeah.
and you're like, I nailed it. It's mine. I got it, and they don't go with you. But then you see the final product, and I did this with it was for uh, a cereal commercial, and I looked at who they picked for the character that I auditioned for, and the one that I knew it, I had it, and I looked at the guy and I'm like, yeah, yeah, he needed to be that character, you know, and it is fun to see how. Honestly, though, I will tell you, I feel that they took some of my audition and and made it his character. Um, but from the look of it, I knew that look had to be that guy, you know. And like you said, we can't have this as a competition. We have to look at it as we're raising up other actors, and we have to support them again as a smaller community.
Yeah, it's I I don't know about others, and I'm not trying to elevate myself in any way, but for me, and I've always said it this way, when people are asking, is it better for you to receive a gift or to give one? For me, I'm on the give one. I would like more because I love doing something that makes somebody else smile or happy. I get great satisfaction, not from their thank you, but I'm doing something kind for somebody else. That's a great energy for me, and I love that part. So I don't understand why people would not be trying to do something for others. An example is another one of our acting buddies. Um, I had a perfect kind of commercial fun spot for me that a director called me on. A Russian speaking guy, somebody who's supposed to be doing a fun bit, and the date that they're shooting, I'm on vacation. So the first, I apologized to the director. I thanked him for it, and I said, "But I have a perfect guy for you." And I reach out to my buddy who ended up getting it and was great at it. So like I feel happy that I did that. I felt a lot happier that I did it then I was sad that I didn't get the part. And I think most of our community is that
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And it's the ones that don't have that feeling that
way.
then we have to have concern for.
Yeah.
When I say that, concern from the heart for, that they will one day. I've converted part of my house into a recording audition studio. And people will call me up. Hey, David, I've got this that I need recorded. Hey, David, 10 o'clock at night. I had a call at 6 o'clock this morning. Hey, David, I have an audition that's due at noon. And you're right. It's that I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it's that idea of being able to say yes and let me help you, and let's hope that this turns into something.
Yeah.
So,
It's just these. It's a relationship-based business, right? We all, as actors, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but it's a relationship-based business. If somebody, whether it's a director, a producer, or a fellow actor, casting director, if somebody knows that you're a good person, if somebody, you may not be right for this part, or you may, miss it out for a variety of 10,000 reasons why we don't get a specific role. But if they know that you're a good guy, they're going to want to work with you. Jack Crop, I think 5 or 6 projects we've been on together already. And he just continues kind of finding things for me because we enjoy working together and we align in the way that his creative vision aligns with how I approach the character. So it's just that's the way it is, and I love that part of the business, and that's why for me, because our business is weird, because there is very little money in it unless you're hitting a series regular role or a national commercial. Now that's union, not non-union anymore, or
yeah,
you're doing a big movie, which again sometimes happens, but there's not a lot of money. We all have to kind of hustle. Why not help each other out? I just don't get it.
right, right. Yeah, and that's exactly it. And I tell people because I do work for rideshare. I don't know if you want me to say the company name, so we'll just say rideshare.
Mhm.
But I call that the Midwest version of being an LA waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that side hustle. And oddly enough, I was actually driving in Milwaukee one day. This was
Mhm.
pre-COVID, and I picked up a couple at a restaurant downtown Milwaukee, and we're just happened to be talking, and they said they were here visiting from LA, and I was like, oh great, and I heard LA people this and that, and she's like, yeah, and my dentist actually tried to give me his resume one day. I was like, why would your dentist try to give you his resume? Well, because my husband and I we write for a TV show. And I was like, okay, like yeah, we're the writers for this TV show, and I'm like, you're kidding me. That's incredible. And so there was a connection made, and I told her, well, I'm an actor, and I was like, I actually just got done with an audition before I started working here. She's like, you don't happen to have your headshot with you? I was like, yeah, I do. And so that side hustle turned into a connection.
Yeah.
You know,
I actually think the rideshare is a great side hustle because you have to go and, you being in Wisconsin, you have auditions all over Wisconsin, you have auditions in Illinois. For you being with a rideshare, you can actually drive to work and then you can work and then you can, you have a lot more flexibility. It's a great choice. I love
yeah. It is odd though. It's a weird thing that Wisconsin drivers can drive all over Wisconsin.
it. Okay.
Wisconsin drivers, once we cross the Illinois border, we can drop the Illinois rider off, and then we can't drive back. But exactly. But if an Illinois driver takes a fare up to Wisconsin, they can pick up another ride and take it back south. And
Yeah.
there's an odd reciprocity that occurs that way, and it also kind of occurs within our field
Hmm.
that you know um, Illinois offers tax credits
Hmm.
for Illinois residents to, for filming and or, outside companies that come in to film within Illinois. So they tend to try to vie for Illinois residents to fill those spots so that they can take on those credits, which then puts us unfortunate Wisconsin folk at a disadvantage. And I really think that it would be a great idea if somehow, because Wisconsin no longer has tax credits, and that's a political thing that I won't get into, um, that we could somehow get a reciprocity of, maybe Wisconsin, Indiana, Michigan, and Iowa start kind of pushing it, but between Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, to get a reciprocity that tax credit could somehow apply to us.
That would be great, and because it's a little unfair. I mean, Milwaukee is pretty close, and on the other side, there are plenty of places in Indiana that are almost suburbs of the Chicagoland area. So it should be available there, but that's sad. I did not realize that. I'm sorry. Okay, well,
so if anybody's listening,
yeah.
let's try to get a reciprocity going.
Yes, I will hashtag that, and we'll come up with a clever one, something with ILWIND reciprocity. That's too long to spell. We'll figure it out. Maybe that's why they haven't done it yet, because they just couldn't figure out a clever hashtag. So
right.
We'll take suggestions right below this video. Please go ahead. Now, one other thin that I kind of noticed about your work is that, and I wanted to dive into some of your training in a second, but when we were shooting last, I saw Nico, which is the part that not the part, the project, the indie that we're both on. There was fortunately some kind of training and rehearsal before that. So what Jack did is he got us into a library. And then he rented, some conference space, and we basically were just doing all sorts of improv stuff, and then going and reading the script. So I noticed that your improv game was very strong. Right away you were just in it. So I'm like, okay, mental check. All right. So David has done improv before. So I wanted to talk to you about your training, because in our Midwest kind of region, improv is a big part of what we do, whether we actually end up doing improv or not. But even during auditions, you're going to be doing improv. So what is your improv training, and where did you get it?
So I have got about 4 years now worth of improv training
Nice.
with a troupe out of Milwaukee called the C Team. Unfortunately, it's not a recognized group. It's not a laugh factory. It's not a funny comedy sport, stuff like that. But it really has opened up that sense of self, and that realization that, and many people may not know this about improv. Improv isn't just about making stuff up on the go. It's about enhancing your partner and advancing the scene. It's an idea of, you never want to say no to an idea, and you always want to have an open-ended question. And I think that as you're saying with auditions, you want to have that opportunity that they're going to say, well, let's try it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I'm not. Well, okay, yes, let's try it that way. And it really, so with improv and performance of improv, not just through the training, it really does enhance what we're doing. And I wasn't a big proponent of training at the onset of my career, but as I was talking to what I consider big movie stars, and after 30 years of them being in the industry, and they're still talking that they take classes, I put myself 100% behind that.
Yeah. I found improv extremely useful, during the audition, or being on set, or working with a director, because you're always open. Improv is about being present, it's about being open, and it's about being flexible, and all of those things are available immediately. And in our pre-show chit chat, I went into an accent. You followed me right there with the same accent. We had fun. That's the way improv is. It's just you take the idea and you run with it, and whether it's funny or not, you're just there together, and something normally happens that is enjoyable.
I think somebody one told me of being in the moment.
Yeah.
Being present and like you said, being present. I guess that's probably the biggest thing is being present, being at that moment.
Yeah. So what other training have you done? As you decided that you were going to do more training, you've done some improv. What else did you do in terms of?
I've gone through the Chubbuck technique.
Mhm.
There's an acting school in Kenosha that has gone through the Chubbuck technique with me. Um, during COVID, I took multiple classes. Fortunately, a lot of companies that may have been charging pre-COVID started doing free classes. And so you could do what they call jump-ins. I would get an email. They'd say, "Hey, we're doing this today." So I learned script writing. I learned script analysis, character analysis, which is probably the biggest thing that an actor can use. Character analysis is where you're trying to find out your motivation, I guess, if you will. Who your character is, where they were before this scene.
Yeah.
Like you said with the homeless guy, you
Mhm.
know, when you were thinking about it, it's like, okay, wait, what was the background? Was he in banking? Was he in finance? Was he mentally disturbed? And so you have to look at all of that as an actor. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm an actor," and give me a script and I'm going to read it. And there has to be some connection to that person.
Yeah, and I've been, as I was going through my whole kind of acting experience, I went from one end of the spectrum to another, which is what a lot of the actors do, and it's probably not, horizontal. It's more circular, where we
Oh,
start in one place and then we eventually end up there. But the more, because a lot of the acting programs are drilling into you that, hey, it's not you, it's the character. It's not you, it's the character. What does the character want? What is the analysis of the, what does it say on page? How do you snap into it? That we really miss out what we are and what we bring to the table. So the more I kind of went away from it, the more it felt unnatural to me. So now, instead of starting with the character and doing all the study there, I start with myself, and I start with what do I identify with, and then I created my own little acting technique of it's I call it the butterfly effect technique. Basically, I go into my past and I figure out at what point in my past would I have made a choice that would have made me be a different person in certain ways. So whatever that character identification is, it's okay. Here's that choice. I go into that choice. I'm still me. I know how to be me, but now I'm me with different experiences, with different emotions, with different associations, and I can live that life, and it's much easier for me to get back to being me. So that kind of became my, principle. And I think as actors, we get lost. We get lost in so many different techniques and so much teaching and so many, all the trial and error where just start with yourself. You're you. You're interesting as is. The reason why they brought you in is because they saw your headshot, usually. They
right,
mostly didn't even watch your demo. They saw your headshot. They saw something in your eyes. That's you. There is, build on that.
right.
Start with that and then go from there. So that became much easier for me to work after I got to that point.
Well, and feeding off of that, that is part of what I don't know necessarily that it was part of the Chubbuck technique, but
Mhm.
what my instructor did tell me is talk to somebody. When I'm saying talk as the character, talk to somebody that is in your life. So the number of times that I would be a father on paper, well, then of course I'm going to be trying to talk to my daughter rather than this character. And that I do agree with you on that, because I think that by personalizing it, you internalize it, and I think that it helps you bring out that better emotion. You know,
Yeah,
you
and I
can
think
fake crying, but you want to be able to really cry.
yeah, and the really cry part is a very interesting thing to master, because if you are, and one of the acting techniques that all of us have been taught is you have to do replacement, right? So, like in Nico, his daughter committed suicide. So there's a very emotional scene in which Nico breaks down upon hearing about his daughter committing suicide. So one way would be to imagine that, something else happened, something like that happened to my own child, and then really tap into that. The issue is in take one, actually take one, maybe not. Take two, really get into it, real tears. Take three, by that time, okay, I'm feeling a little better about it, so there's less tears. Take four, maybe no tears at all, because I've lived through that emotion. I kind of let it out. That's the whole point of tearing.
Yeah.
You're letting that emotion flow through you, and it's out. So being able to be on all the time with real tears when you have multiple takes and then multiple coverages and all of the other things that we have to worry about is freaking hard. And that's where I found that personal experiences and using your own does not work all the time. So you actually have to take that out, and you have to build another character in a way that you're associating with, but it's not real person. Then you don't. Then you can tap into it, and there is a lot more available to you rather than your own experience, which is going to be more short.
I'll have to tap into that with you outside of this, because I have a feeling that's going to be more than just, a 20, 30-minute conversation. Because I, when you said, about getting into that first take, that second take, the third take, you're right. Because by that fourth take, you've worked through that. It's like going to therapy. You've worked through that emotion, and you can't cry anymore. And so it's nice to know that that isn't just me.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not.
yeah,
It's a lot of actors, and some actors don't actually want to do that at all. They don't want to relive personal drama in order to, generate an emotion. So that's why there are all sorts of techniques, and they use, a little. I think it's called tear something, but basically they put something under the eyes. It's like a lip balm, but it has, some essential oils, and they put it under the eyes that allows you to get tears. Another way to do it is through breathing. Before we tear up, our breathing changes. We're not
correct.
normally, because the breathing changes and your breathing becomes more shallow and it becomes here, and then all of a sudden your body, because the brain knows what the chemistry is, and an associated thought brings an emotion. It knows that there is a memory of it. So as you get into the process of breathing, then you can start tearing up. So that's another way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by um, I had one more. I had one more method. I'll remember it in a second.
You have the old technique of, you cover your mouth and then you pull a hair out of your nose,
Yeah, that's true.
you know,
Do that too.
create a physical pain that is going to bring a tear out of your eyes. So,
Yeah, closing your eyes, rubbing your eyes, right? That's another thing, because you close your eyes rapidly enough times, you're going to have tears come out. Or even the simplest thing of just eye drops, right? You can put eye drops, your eyes tear up, and then you're good to go. So there are all sorts of tricks, and we just mentioned some of them that
yeah.
top of mind. But I the more actors that I talk to, the more I realize that going back and reliving personal drama is not something that you can tap into all the time, and it's not enough for all of the all the takes, and usually it's not a good way to go for a whole host of psychological and emotional reasons.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I guess I didn't want to lead it into that is, what I want to do for all my tears and all my emotions.
Yeah.
You're right, because that it can only go so far, and if I've lived through my father dying 7 times on 7 different films, at some point I'm going to just be like, yeah, okay, my dad died,
Yeah.
you know. So sounds cold. I'm not cold and callous, people. I promise. So.
No, no, you're not. I know you well enough to know that that's not the case. Um, so I want to talk to you about kind of again the craziness of our business because you and I are middle aged and we're doing this thing and
Wait, you're middle aged?
I'm middle aged.
I'm like 23. I just look older.
Yeah, it's probably just because you had an audition and you were going for a certain look. Nicely done, Mike.
Thank you, thank you. It's makeup. It's all makeup.
It's all makeup. It's lighting, makeup. It's the magic of the television set. Um, so you and I, at your younger age and mine older age, we're trying to kind of live this dream and to pursue a career in a small, okay, maybe not small, medium-sized market, right? It's not LA, it's not New York, it's not a primary market. So in a medium-sized market, now you just told me that Wisconsinites are not getting even the right opportunities in Illinois because of the tax credits. Why do you do it?
That's probably the $1 billion question, not even the $1 million question. Uh, People ask me, have you acted your whole life? Were you in theater in high school? I wasn't. I was a very closed child. I was very naive. I was very self-conscious. Um, and even today, I am still self-conscious. But why do I do this? And why do I do it, especially within my age? Because I did start a little bit later. Um, it it's just fun. It's fun entertaining people. It's fun having that hunt, if you will, for that golden goose. I think that you would want at some point to have a series regular, that
Yes.
you would love to be that lead guy in an action film or a drama film or whatever, love interest, whatever it may be. And I think that that's what it comes down to, is that overall human desire to be wanted, and to be recognized, and really spending 25 years as a very closed off person and a very guarded person, and being able to finally come out and just be open, and yes, you care about what people think about you, but you can say yes, but they care about how I'm portraying, not necessarily that it's about me. So you can still be guarded, but it's more about your performance at that time. And so I think that's why I do what I do, because I have fun. I get to be my own boss. I get to make my own decisions. And number one, honestly, two, I guess number two, because the fame is the number one. The number two is I do get to meet awesome people such as yourself. It's wonderful to be able to watch people grow within the industry and see the successes, see the failures, and just enjoy life. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And in my personal experience, I wanted to ask if you have the same, but that being open and being yourself and accepting of who you are and letting the guard down, which
Yeah.
I have to do as well, um, allows you to enjoy life a lot more. And it's the getting work is definitely a part of it, but I just like myself more when I'm doing it, not
Yeah.
doing the work, but when I'm open, because it's more about me. I am open, I'm accepting, I am hustling, I'm productive, and I'm creative. And that makes me a better version of me rather than somebody who is sitting and being repressed and unhappy.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the best answer right there, Alan. It is. It is that freedom. I've become, and part of it is from my improv training too. I've become so much more sociable. I used to go to the corner tavern. I'd sit in my little corner. I'd drink my beer or two, and then I'd leave. And now instead, I'll go to the corner tavern, sit in the corner, but then I'll act like a fool just to get the attention. And eventually, then somebody might come over and say, "Hey, stop it," or "Dude, you're funny," and go from there. So I'm with you. It's a freedom
Yeah.
for what we do.
And how do you, again, you mentioned that you have your rideshare gig.
Right.
Finances, right?
Yeah.
How do you manage um, the inconsistency of income? Not even talking about the level of income, but just the
Right.
inconsistency of acting income.
Right. That I mean, really, rideshare does the large bucket of it.
Mm.
Um, I do odd jobs. I actually, once I get off the call with you here, I'm going to be going to do a singing telegram. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah, there's a gentleman. May I mention his company name on here?
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll put a link right below.
It is Wham Bam Singing Telegrams
Okay.
in Paddock Lake, Wisconsin. So I'm going to be a town crier doing a singing telegram. So, and I've developed different characters. I've actually dressed in drag for a couple of TV commercials he's shot.
Mhm.
Um, so there's little things, little independent things that I think as actors we try to pull together,
Yeah.
and it isn't always easy. That the money that the government gave during the pandemic sure did help out. Now that we're released from that a little bit, it's growing again, but I don't have that $1 million look. I don't have the square chin, the beautiful teeth. I have beautiful teeth, but um, you know, it, so you're right. Work doesn't come consistently, so it does always come with side hustle. And again, I liken that to being in LA, where just about every waiter or waitress is an aspiring singer, songwriter, actor, writer,
Mhm.
director, um, but again, we do it for our love. For the love of the product is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So
And
yourself,
then
I mean, how do you get by?
I have a regular job. I'm in IT. I'm in marketing. I'm actually creating a marketable. Yeah, that's really well put. Digital marketing agency. I'm building a digital marketing agency right now because I have a background in marketing. I've been doing it, so now I wanted to do it for myself and then for the clients. Which again, like everything that I am doing in terms of the businesses or the jobs that I have, it's to build in enough flexibility where if Chicago Med calls and saying, "Hey, we need you on set," I can say yes while still have money coming in because I have a family that, not that I need to support. My wife, knock on wood, is doing wonderfully, but I need to contribute. And we have kids that are about to go to college and all the other stuff that I have to account for. So it's the balance of trying to give enough time and have the proper momentum and put in the training, put in the hustle, while also living a life as a middle-aged dad. So it's not easy, but I found that when I just focus on the job aspect, I don't feel complete. When I do auditions, when I do I land certain jobs, which you know auditions are a lot more than landing, obviously, and but it's fuel. It's fuel. It's creative energy that once I get it, it's more balanced, and I'm a better version of
Yeah, yeah.
it.
I couldn't agree with you anymore on that one.
Yeah. Um, how does, again, I know, from my perspective, my wife is not in the industry. She loves, watching TV shows, but she cannot stand the industry and the way that the industry is, and the whole idea. I just did a Great Chicago Mad audition, which I did it. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was natural. It was perfect. The character is a little older than I am, but I had facial hair. I did the whole thing just to land it. I thought I did great. I did not get a callback. I did not book it, and my wife hates that part of it. You put your heart out. You think you're going to get it. You're waiting for the phone. Yeah, I didn't shave for a week and a half just in case. I'm going to get the call. She hates that part.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and the inconsistency of it drives her nuts. So as long as I have a real job and this is just a offshoot, great. Hey, if I'm offered a series regular and it's going to be, hey, honey, here's a pile of money. I can do this. Can I quit my job? Yes, but it's a very serious conversation. So how have you found that your lifestyle affects your relationship?
Well, unfortunately, I was divorced back in 2015.
Right?
My daughter lives with my ex-wife down in Texas while I live up here in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Um, so I really didn't. I did acting prior to my marriage, but when I got into the relationship pre-marriage and then through the marriage, I actually stopped acting because at that point I had to be the quote unquote responsible one.
Yeah.
And in Texas, there wasn't a lot going on. They did work in New Mexico. They were actually shooting Transformers, which was actually my first film to work on.
Nice.
And so there are there are definitely concessions that we have to make within our lives. Now, as a single guy, I still can't just go out and blow the money that I have.
Of course.
I do have to make sure that I have that nest egg, if you will, if something happens. There's been talk of something going on in LA here within the next couple of weeks that could very well affect all of us.
Oh,
And
in the other way around. Okay, got it. Sorry.
the other way around.
I was
Um,
hoping it would be a gig that you're
well,
like.
no, I did actually just last night. I turned in an audition for a commercial in LA. And I actually did. I was top two on a film shooting in LA, and then I just got an email from my agency last week telling me that they've canceled the character. So there are little setbacks. I know there's little setbacks like that, and that's probably a big question too for your audience. There is how do you? I'll ask you starting here, even though it's your show.
It's a
How
conversation. Yeah.
how do you deal with the rejection? I mean, I'm sure that you probably do a couple hundred auditions a year, if or every month, and you may or may not book all of them. So how do you handle that?
Uh, First of all, I'll qualify that. It's not the rejection that's harder to deal with. It's the not knowing and not hearing ever anything. So you kind of do an audition, you send it off, you feel good about it. I've learned, and thankfully, some of the training that I've gone through, they basically were drilling into my head is the audition is yours. And once you do your job, you put it aside, you forget about it because if somebody calls, they call. But you have to feel good and the completion because we like to complete things as human beings.
Right.
We want to bring something to the end of it. And when we view the ending of it as booking, you're going to be very upset and disappointed, and you're going to lose a lot of energy that way. But if you view the completion as, hey, I got the audition, I got ready, I did it, I sent it in, now I let it go. That's why I stopped even calling my friends after auditions because I already let it go. But then the natural question from the friends is, how did you do? How did it go? And I had to go back in there. I'm like, I don't want to even think about it. I
Yeah.
want to let it go. And then once I let it go, then I don't worry about it. So for me, two things again. Number one is audition is your job. Everything else, don't worry about it. It's a bonus. Number two is I don't do this for the money. So money is not the primary factor, and I don't need to get that job. I certainly want to, but I don't need to. And because I don't need to, that takes a lot of the pressure off of it. I think the performances are better, and my expectations and handling of rejection is better because I'm not worried about it. I would love to get it. So there are certain roles that I've auditioned for that I wanted to get that I thought will be like, okay, this is my next step, right? I got a check avail for a recurring guest star on a Showtime series, playing opposite Ethan Hawke. I'm like, baby, this is it. This is it. And then nothing happens as most often. So there are things that I really wanted to get that I didn't get, but it's my kind of my outlook and my spirituality and the way that I view life of the right role is going to find you at the right time for you. And I just kind of do it that way. So other people, we all have our circumstances, but I know that for me, where I am at this point in my life, at this point in my career, I am happy, and I'm continuing to work forward. And I know that something is going to start happening because a lot of the auditions lately have been more for the co-star on these Chicago TV shows. Some of them are guest stars, some of them are recurring co-stars. So the fact that I get invited, I view that as the right sign of the same casting directors are calling you in for different parts. So that means that they don't think you suck. They think that, okay, we just need to find the right thing for him. So I'm hoping, we'll see, right? Only universe and God knows, but I'm hoping that that translates into me booking that next level, which is on a TV show. I just did an Amazon commercial, which was really fun. So like, I think I'm starting, and my agent, The Rock, who rocks. I love The Rock.
I'm with the Rock also. Rock. There we go.
They're getting the type of characters that I want to play, and they're sending me for the right things, and it's starting to generate some traction. So long-winded answer to your question. Obviously, I like to talk, so I hope that filled in the gap.
And it does, because I've been told the same thing that you were saying, which is do it and then leave it.
Yeah.
My problem is I do it and then I get done with whether it's an in-person audition or a virtual audition or a taped audition, and I'll send it off, or I'll sign off, and then I sit there for the next 2 hours going, okay, what if I would have said it this way? What if I would have said it that way? And I guess for me, that goes back to that naive, closeted kid that was so unsure of himself that he still lets those little things get away. And you said not so much the rejection, and you're right. The rejection, I actually want the rejection. I want them to say,
Yeah.
no, we don't want you. I would really like them to say, no, we don't want you because you're this, or this, which will hurt, but maybe it's something I can work on.
Yeah.
Versus here's my audition. I know I nailed it, and now it's crickets. There's absolutely nothing. And you're right. You can't do this job thinking that it's for the money. You can't just quit. I've had so many people that have asked me, I want to, or told me, I guess I shouldn't say asked, I want to quit my job and do this full time.
No.
You can't. Of The Rock, Helen Wells, Lori Lynn's, Babes and Bows, the first thing that they'll tell you is don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Because this isn't consistent. I mean, there are certain actors that I see that are shooting a commercial every week. Again, good for you. I'm happy for you. But I don't see an audition, but maybe once every month, once every couple months. Otherwise, I'm hustling. I'm going to Columbia. I'm going to DePaul. I'm going to MATC in Milwaukee. I'm going to UWM in Milwaukee. And doing student films, sometimes for $20, sometimes for $200, sometimes for
Right.
free. And I'm not going to survive because yes, once I get that recurring role, once I get that, I Heart Abishola or Bob Hart's Abishola character, yes, then I can quit my day job, but until then, actors, if you're out there, whoever's out there, don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
It,
Make your day job flexible enough where you can continue doing this and
Right.
continue investing time and training and relationships and all the things that you have to do. But don't quit your day job because once it becomes for the money, you're done.
yeah.
You're done creatively and universal laws speaking and everything. It's just not a good place to be.
Yeah, because you're going to be only seeking out jobs that are, high paying, and then the second you do that, you start losing those jobs, and then it starts eating away at you. You know. So what do you do?
And that's the beauty of, again, you mentioned student films. I've done student films for NAIC, for Columbia, for DePaul, for Northwestern, for University of Chicago. So I've done those, and they're awesome. And the part that I love, and I'm going to use Jack as an example. And Jack, you are not obligated to do this at all. But I remember, Jack and I were talking about it, and Jack and other directors, what do you think happens to the directors when they graduate film school? They're going somewhere and they're trying to, and some of them are going to make it. And if you have the relationship with them and if they like you, there might be a phone call in your future that you're not expecting. Hopefully Jack from my side calling from LA saying, "Hey, dude, I have a role for you. Come on now."
Yeah.
Right? Doing those student films, which a lot of them are for free, doing those student films for free is going to give you the experience, is going to give you possible connections, is going to make you a better actor and build relationships. And you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you sit there, wait, and don't do anything, that's what's going to happen. No.
And I think that the greatest thing for me, and it's almost comical, working on student films,
Mhm.
is you're going to go in to project A, and you have this one as a director, this one as a lighting, this one as sound, this one as gaff,
Yeah.
and then you get invited back for another film. Now your director is the gaff, your lighting is now the director, your sound guy is now doing
Yeah.
crafty, and you're right because they then kind of tend to pull themselves together, and they like, okay, we like working with each other, let's keep doing it.
Mhm.
I've always heard a story, and I don't know if it's true. I would hope that it is, that Steven Spielberg, he actually took his film crew from college, and those are the guys that have really been with him. I'm sure some have left and done their own thing, but
Yeah.
that they've stayed together on all these. Amblin is essentially his college team, from my understanding.
Hmm. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know that if that's a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Right.
Yeah. The only thing that I would mention to the beginning actors or to the actors who want to do student films in order to get their reels done. If you want to do it just so you can get a reel done, that's the wrong reason to do it
Yes.
because a lot of times they're not great. Number one. Other times you may never get the information from them, and you may never get that footage. There are some projects that I have done that it's been 2 years that I've never gotten anything from them.
Yeah.
So don't do it for that. Do it because it's a role that you haven't played before. Do it because you have heard and you know that the quality is going to be at the right level. and do it for the right reason. Don't do it for the demo.
Yeah. Because I will tell you, you're right. I've probably gotten 1 out of 20 demos from college students, even if I've asked them. I know, and I won't say specifically, but there are 2 schools that the schools actually take ownership of the films. And so the students, it's kind of like going into business with somebody and you create something while the business now owns it.
Yeah.
So when these kids make up their films, the schools now take ownership of the film. So they can't get you your reel.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's even worse. And then IMDb, right? I initially thought, oh, I'm gonna build up my IMDb, because I'm gonna have all of these student films on there. Only a few of them actually go through the process of putting them on IMDb, which is silly because it doesn't take a long time to do it. Everybody should be doing it, but do it for the right reasons. That's all.
And I think too, though, on that point is you do want to bring that fact up to students because it does help to build up their portfolio as well. Because there are countless times that I've sent in for stuff for Atlanta, for Texas, that they've asked for my IMDb page. Because they want to see that there is material on there. So yes, if you're out there right now, as you're writing your script and as you're putting it together, start getting that IMDb page. Put it as pre-production, put it as in production, put it as post-production, because it will be valuable to you. It's going to be valuable to us as actors, to your lighting, to your stunt people, anybody that's involved in it.
We all need the credits. And by the way, that's why the first thing that I did when I started this program, every one of my guests immediately gets an IMDb credit for being on the program. So you're getting another. Listen, it's a joy and a pleasure to talk to you. I am sorry that we didn't get a chance to do this sooner, and I am really hoping that I get to see you on one of the projects in a short period of time.
Well, again, and as you said, everything is in the universe's hands.
Yeah.
In God will put it to us in the time that it has happened. He put us together today as it
Yeah.
needed to happen. So.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope this was informational and you got something out of it. If not, then you just got a chance to see a guy in his 20s and a guy in his 40s have a nice conversation. Thank you, everybody.